Hi Jill, welcome to Chaos. The theme for National Apprenticeship this year, is Skills for Life, and that's really what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's setting people up for the future. So as we know, very interesting times we live in, and people need to kind of look at what the careers of the future might be. So me and my team will look at where the trends are. So there's all kinds of jobs which are new coming onto the market, and there are sort of jobs that are kind of fading away now. So we don't see that many people who want to go into mining, for example, but a lot of people want to go into media.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think apprenticeship's such an alternative way of learning. It's that hands-on education more so, isn't it?
Absolutely. So, I mean, most apprenticeships depend. There's all kinds of levels, which we'll probably cover in another question. But so most apprenticeships have a mix of theory and practical. So depends on which level as to how much theory and how much practical. But yeah, it's that kind of nice way of learning. So most people learn by doing, rather than sitting in a classroom and reading textbooks and revising and all those kinds of things. But when you actually physically do an activity or learn something by looking at a picture or working with a model, then that's how people learn best. So it's actually a quicker way of learning for most people.
Mentioning on the skills for life aspect of it there as well, I think with that apprenticeship you learn so much more than just the academia of the paperwork in front of you. It's that human interaction, it's that basic level of being in a workplace, which are skills for life.
Absolutely. If you sort of do the compare and contrast bit to traditional education, you're probably sat in a classroom with people very similar to you. So you're not really learning anything off those. But if you're in a workplace with people of all kinds of ages and experiences and all nationalities and languages, you're picking up all of those life skills as well. So you're not just picking up your career, you're also learning how to interact with all kinds of other people, which I think is really important.
And like you say, these carry all the way through with life. I'm looking forward to looking at some myth busting now.
Fantastic.
I must say, I was a bit excited. I thought, what are we going to talk about? Unicorns, leprechauns. What sort of myths are we discussing here? But no, these are myth busting when it comes to apprenticeships. So I'm looking forward to looking at these.
Absolutely.
So myth number one is apprenticeships are only for young people. What have you got to say about that?
Absolutely not. So apprenticeships were that a very long time back in the day, as young people say. So apprenticeships are for anybody of working age. So you could have had a career or two careers in different industries and think, well, I fancy doing something else. What can I do? How can I do it? How can I learn something without giving up a salary? Apprenticeships is the thing.
What sort of what's the average length of an apprenticeship in the sense of how time scale here?
It varies very much. So there are sort of minimum lengths. So you couldn't do an apprenticeship in 2 weeks, for example. So most apprenticeships sort of minimum 12 months. If you're going up to a level 7, then that could take a couple of years. So
still not long though, is it?
Oh, absolutely. You know, in comparison to going into further education, higher education, staying on and doing a master's, if you think how long that would take, it's usually a lot longer.
Absolutely. So it's almost a quicker way of doing these
things.
Is, so almost better off doing it later in life, doing an apprenticeship in that sense.
I mean, you can, depending on the employer you work with, they can kind of stagger it. So you might decide to do level 2 and then move on to level 3 and so on and so forth.
What works for the individual.
So there's all kinds of different ways. And that's another beauty of the apprenticeship. There isn't a formula in many ways. So you can kind of do bits as suit you and your employer that you're working with. So you can kind of add bits in.
Myth number one, busted. Officially busted. Number 2, only manual sectors offer apprenticeships.
Absolutely not. So you can do an apprenticeship in pretty much any industry you can think of. So traditional ones are people are talking a lot about the skill shortages in industries such as plumbing and electrics and all those kinds of things. Absolutely. But any industry from sort of retail, customer service, creatives, so you can do apprenticeships in those, medicine, law, any industry you can think of pretty much has an apprenticeship attached to it. And some organisations, if they don't have one written, will go ahead and kind of source that training and that apprenticeship lead as well. So it's a moving feast.
I think it makes perfect sense that it's that way, really, after you've said about the variety of apprenticeships on offer there, that, of course, it's going to be, in that sense, that mixture, isn't it?
Absolutely. So it's kind of responding to the needs. So society's changing, the work-life balance is changing, new industries are coming on, etc. So we have to kind of move with the times. So it's not one of those old-fashioned things where you just keep churning out the same old. It's very responsive to what's needed in the job market.
Which is
and
great.
it's something that it's employer led as well. So it's not like you go to college, learn to do something one way, and then when you go into employment, the employer says, "Well, we don't do it that way," and you end up having to retrain.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way of keeping it current as well. And like you say, if you're in that apprenticeship, you're working at ground level there, aren't you?
Absolutely. So you get the best of both worlds. So you get the practical and the theory.
Yeah. Right. Busted. Myth.
Good.
We are busting these myths.
We're ticking them off, aren't we?
So, myth number 3: apprenticeships have no value for your career prospects.
No, absolute rubbish. So you get exactly the same qualification. Again, compare and contrast. You get exactly the same qualification as if you were going to a traditional college or university. There is no difference. In fact, in some cases, you'll see the same tutors. So college tutors sometimes send the assessors out to the business environment. So it'll be the same one delivering the same subject, either in the premises or on site.
What's the difference in the two sort of qualifications at the end, or the varying qualifications in that sense? There really isn't.
There absolutely isn't. As I say, it's kind of how you best learn. So if you're a kind of person who responds very well to being in a classroom situation, then perhaps you might want to think about doing a sort of traditional route, so studying and then finding work. But if you like that mix, and if you like sort of being with people and learning in a practical way, then the employment environment might be best suited to you.
Again, it's on the individual,
Absolutely.
basis.
So you've got choices.
Yeah. Oh, we like choices, right? I've dispelled that myth now.
Good.
So, apprenticeships don't offer great qualifications. See, so we've just touched on this.
Yeah. No, as I say, so we go from level 2 up to level 7. So you can do anything in between those. So absolutely any subject, pretty much any level, it's all there for you. So you can take your pick.
I like the levels of it as well. Like you say, again, it's just more options.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So education and training and the workplace have all changed, and it's really encouraging to see that employers are taking this on. The schools promoting these a bit more now. So it's really good that people are taking notice to the possibility of doing an apprenticeship, and not just school and education leavers, also people, as I say, who are in employment and might want to further their career options.
Yeah.
And people wanted to change careers. So a lot of people have kind of think, well, I've had enough of doing that job. Perhaps they've been made redundant and they want to try something new.
It's a great way of retraining in that sense, isn't it? And it doesn't cross your mind because, like you say, I think there's that very basic myth that we touched on at the start there of it being for young people, and you think it's the start of your education. However, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Anytime, a working age.
Yeah.
So, there is no upper limit.
That's what we like to hear. Right, busted. Myth 5. Employers pay peanuts to apprentices.
Absolutely not. It's a very competitive market, so there may be some employers listening to this call right now go, yes, absolutely. So thanks for that one, John.
Yes.
It is a tough employment market. So employers are paying competitive rates. So with any job, there are legal minimum rates of pay. The same applies to apprenticeships, and most employers pay well above the minimum rates to get good people and to encourage people to stay within that organisation as well. So, throughout their career, they will have good rates of pay.
With the focus more so nowadays on the living wage, I think it's really important, like you say, that we're hitting above those targets as they were in that sense. And like I say, it's good to have that open discussion with employers as well.
Yeah, and the other kind of way to look at it as well is, again, I refer back to the compare and contrast. So if you went to college for 2, 3, 5 years, however long, then obviously you're not earning whilst you're going to college. You may have a part-time job just to help yourself sort of through whilst you're studying. And then you've got to then go and find a job. So the apprenticeship in many ways is quicker because you've started.
You're in that.
You're in the job already. You're earning. So you haven't got to think, oh, crikey, how am I going to get the bus to get to college or all those kinds of things, because you're being paid to have those.
Would you say it's more common that apprentices go into a job where they've got their apprenticeship too?
Absolutely. So many employers kind of see it as a way of bringing in fresh new talent. And the mindset from employers' point of view is, I'm bringing on this talent, so I'm bringing them in, I'm training them and supporting them in their career. So once they're qualified, I would like them to stay with me and grow within the organisation. So most organisations view it as a long-term thing. So yes, there's a training element with the apprenticeship, but once the apprenticeship is completed, they would very much like people to stay on
I think
and grow that
that
organisation.
commitment's there from the start. If as an
Absolutely.
employer, you're putting in this time and energy and money into supporting somebody.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, so you're treated in the same way as other employees. So you get holiday pay and all holiday leave and all those
Yeah.
kinds of things. So it's you are an employee, of
A
the
valued
company.
employee as much as
Absolutely,
anybody. Yeah,
absolutely.
no, that's what we like to hear. So myth 6: companies don't recruit apprentices.
That's absolute rubbish. So you're sort of covering over some of the things that we've ticked off before. So you're getting exactly the same qualification out of an apprenticeship as if you went to a traditional learning establishment such as a college or university. So plus you've got the real working experience and you've got the skills of dealing with different groups of people. So I would suggest that perhaps you're ahead of the rest of the pack because you've already been able to communicate with different kinds of people and work in different environments. So
I want to pick up on the word companies there
Yes.
because that's also interesting to think of a large-scale company taking on apprenticeships. How does that happen often?
absolutely. So some of the most sought after ones are with the big employers. So all of the big companies have really fantastic apprenticeship programs. So I would encourage you to have a look at some of those if that's something of interest to you. So they are sought after. So there's companies locally that will have in excess of 600 people apply for an apprenticeship. Because their program is that good,
That's
and it
amazing.
really does set you up for life. So
Yeah.
once you've got that apprenticeship under your belt, you really have got the best skills, knowledge, and experience gained. So yeah,
And
employers.
you've got that foot in the door
Yeah.
already in that way, and it's probably not the
Absolutely.
correct term for it, but
Yeah,
you've got that
it's
start,
true.
haven't
Yep,
you?
absolutely, and there are figures to show that over the lifetime of your career, you will have earned more
Wow.
as an apprentice because if you think about it, you're earning from the day
the,
one.
the get-go. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
So it's been proven that most employees have a higher sort of salary over the course of their working life as an
So it's
apprentice.
like not only are these myths not true, it's like the opposite.
Yeah,
of
in fact,
actually, isn't
yes,
it?
yes. So I mean, I'm grateful for this opportunity today to come along and talk about this because it's important that people know the facts.
Yeah, and like I said, I think you get these ideas so installed from
Yeah.
such an early age as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So there's a lot of negative. So to dispel, apprenticeships are great, not for everybody, but at least
But for those
consider
that
the
they are.
options.
So last myth now, apprenticeships are only offered for cheap labour.
No, again, absolutely not. So the employers, it costs the employers quite a lot of time and money to put these apprenticeships on. So if they're going to put their name to it, then they want it to be right because it's their reputation as well. So absolutely not. It's a really worthwhile qualification. It's great for employers. It's great for employees.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you for coming on and joining me today. It's been lovely.
Happy
Like I
to.
say, we've debunked these.
We
That's
have.
it.
We've
That's
smashed
it.
it.
Smash these myths. They're gone. They're out. Nobody's going to believe them anymore. Once we
Brilliant.
put the word on the street, don't you worry about it. No, Jill, thank you for coming on today. Jill there from National Careers Service. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much.